Okay, will AI make or break Canada? Innovators, researchers call for more guardrails. The AI minister says data privacy legislation is coming soon as task force mulls ideas. So we're still mulling, we're still planning, we're still trying to figure it out. Meanwhile, the rest of the world is quite literally racing into the future so fast that the US quite literally diverts investment away from their states that propose AI regulation. That's how fast they're going. Meanwhile, we're trying to figure out what to do. So I really do hope and believe that we just let the reins go, let AI take hold of our economy. It really needs to because our economy is in shambles. But more importantly, this idea that we need to be so head in the sand, sitting on our hands, not doing anything until the powers that be say to do something, and then even when they do something, we're still scared. Canada is stricken by fear. Canadians are particularly stricken by fear. We have demos with Canadians and U.S. people from the U.S., people from the U.K. all the time, and generally Canadians are just afraid. They're afraid of the technology. They're afraid of regulation. They're afraid of their own shadows. So I have to do everything in my power to let them know, hey, America's going way faster than us, and they have absolutely no plans to regulate this at all. Like nothing. They're just building and going fast. So I'm hoping that with Evan Solomon at the helm as the AI minister, we sort of take the same stance. The people who are really touting for security, data sovereignty, as well as safety, for AI systems. These are more of your older generations who are not so familiar with the technology. When you get to the younger generations, they want their AI robots right now. And of course, there are going to be some groups of people who are influenced more easily by AI systems. They don't have the mental constitution or wherewithal to understand or know what they're talking to, doesn't have a soul. So we're going to have to make sure those people are okay. But generally, we're doing a lot more talking than actual implementation or work in Canada, and it's holding us back. If you don't recognize me, my name is Alex. Run an AI agency in Toronto called Demand Incorporated. We help entities, organizations, businesses from small all the way up to enterprise, municipalities, and transit systems with their AI adoption. And we've been trying to share the story or the narrative around the AI adoption crusade in Canada, just because our nation is the slowest to adopt what is considered to be a miracle technology amongst developed nations. And we're actually being studied by think tanks as to why it's taking so long. We're also being encroached upon by mega US corporations that are looking at us going, hey, these guys aren't doing anything. Maybe we can do it for them. And that has implications for data security as well as sovereignty as well, because it's a race. Who can build the infrastructure the fastest and strongest, and who can take control of data transfer across systems now? So I'm really enjoying this ride. We use US systems. Like we understand that we like the regulations. Like you got to understand regulations to work at peak demand. You got to understand the regulatory landscape, the compliance landscape, everything, because that understanding is going to allow you to demonstrate to our Canadian clients that cross-border data handling is okay if you have AES 256 encryption, transit layer security, as well as SOC 2 and GDPR compliance. When you're using systems that follow these internationally recognized thresholds, the systems you're using are generally better than the ones maybe even developed in Canada. Even though they're data sovereign, everything is in Canada, they're just not good. We get more we get more breaches through Canadian systems than anything else. So I'm really hoping that Canadians just wake up and say, hey, I want best in class for my operation. I'm going to get world class service through a world class system. I can't wait for them to be developed in Canada, but right now they just don't exist. So let's get into it. And I know CBC. I honestly feel like CBC's tune is changing on AI. Like this is like the fourth AI article they've done in like the last week or 2 weeks or something. Like I'm having to catch up with how much conversations coming out of CBC in regards to AI. I love it. It's like a content engine. But I really do feel like the tune is changing a little bit. It's coming from the government. We got to do things now with AI. Go now, go fast, spend money now. But CBC has been really resistant to saying anything positive about AI. It's insane. But I'm going to cover it because when they start saying good things about it, I'm going to be right there laughing. But let's continue. As the Carney government promotes artificial intelligence as part of its bid to grow the Canadian economy, some inventors who use the technology and experts who study its impacts are calling on Ottawa to add more guardrails, something the federal government is actively examining. So, if you're not familiar, a guardrail is basically an instruction that the guys who are building the AI, developers, engineers, give to the AI to say, hey, don't do that. If it comes to the conversation topic on this, don't say anything. And we employ guardrails in the agents that we build. So there's a layer, the large language model, or agents are built on, that has a set of guardrails put in by developers. And then when you tap into that large language model, say through a ChatGPT terminal, and you're talking to your chatbot, there's a base level of guardrails there that's protecting you from, say, putting together something dangerous or having you can't even create images around money and like what was it lavish lifestyles. You can't even do that stuff on OpenAI. You try to make an image of you standing in front of a sports car holding money, you can't do it because of their guardrails. So Canadians, we're so afraid of what's going to happen when we sit down at the front of the AI terminal. Oh, is the AI going to bite me? That all we can do is talk about guardrails, 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 guardrails. But guardrails are built into most of these systems, especially OpenAI. You can't do anything out of the ordinary on OpenAI, or you're going to get a response or an inference that says, "Hey, that's against our policy." So I understand the guardrails. The only problem is with artificial intelligence, you can create your own language models. You can build your own chatbots with no guardrails. That is the very nature of this technology. It is the great equalizer. Anyone can build a large language model, albeit having some technical capability, but anyone can build their own open AI and have conversations and have it do all sorts of questionable stuff. That's the world we live in now. So asking for regulation where it's like asking to regulate um knives can cut people, but knives can also cut bread, cut fruits, cut meat. So we would have to have a regulation for every single knife set, every single kitchen, and we'd have to look at those individually instead of just saying don't stab people, that's the law. And you're going to quickly find the more people start to understand this technology, the more they are going to yield to the fact that it's unstoppable. The Pandora's box has been opened. We're just trying to manage the fallout. So the word I'm happy to see words like guardrails making its way into CBC's articles, but like this stuff is baby stuff, guys. We need to talk about investments, data centers now. The guardrails we have now are the ones that the big tech companies are self-imposing, quite honestly. And quite honestly, what we're seeing is that they're not sufficient. So they're never going to be perfect. It's a black box technology. It's non-deterministic. Said Valerie Pisano, CEO of Montreal's AI Institute, Mila, a nonprofit committed to advancing AI benefit for all. In an interview with CBC's The House that aired Saturday morning, Pisano said her goal is figuring out some protection in a world where, really, we let the companies do whatever they wanted without hindering innovation. Like, that's great. I honestly agree with that. We should not be regulating our innovators into submission. It's already happened in Canada. We've already regulated our tech industry into oblivion. That's why we don't have a strong tech industry here. It's the bottom line. We know how to do this, Pisano said. We've done this in every other single impactful, innovative, transformative industry. We did it with aviation, we did it with pharma, we did it with nuclear. A little more difficult with this hyper technology. Pisano said she keeps a close eye on a slate of risks posed by rapidly evolving AI, including how children interact with technology, the environmental impact of AI data centers, and the potential to displace young workers. So I can tell you, displacing young workers, Yes, like that's young people are going to need to pick up AI. That's the bottom line. Just like back in the day when electricity came about, young people had to figure out how to turn on light bulbs and set up electricity grids, all that stuff. It's just a new turn of our society. It's a new revolution of industry. So, are we going to complain or are we just going to adapt? The effects of it, how it's affecting children when children interact with it. I'm seeing a world where children who engage with AI systems are far more capable than the children we have just looking on TikTok and scrolling mindlessly. It's the bottom. You have some children who are developing apps for themselves just so they can have better like playtime or help them with their own personal projects. That's the world that we're going into, where children are going to be developing apps. And I don't mind it. It technology is magical to me. If you're able to infuse a child with magic at a young age, God knows what they'll be capable of as they grow up. I wish I got into tech earlier than I did. I was a little bit of a late bloomer, but here I am. Um, I've been paying attention to the growing number of humans who are in intimate relationships with AI bots. Basano said. What troubles me is this is a first. It's completely new. So I'm going to there's a couple of observations I'm going to make about what she just said. First of all, yes, this environment where humans are having intimate relationships with AI bots is new. I personally don't believe that humans should be having emotional relationships with things that don't have souls. But that's my personal belief. It doesn't mean anything in the eyes of others. It's my personal opinion. I believe that humans beings should have relationships with each other in the pastures of God. We should be stewards over animals and plants that were born onto this earth, and we should all, love each other the best that we possibly can, given that stewardship. AI is technology. It's a tool. It's a machine. It lifts heavy objects and moves them. That's what our team uses AI's tools to make sure, you can get bookings 24/7. So you can do, sophisticated computations in a conversation and have a report sent to someone. Like those are workflows. They're tools. It's for work. Lift heavy objects. Move them. I implore humanity to not have relationships with robots. I really, really do, because that to me is I would say a mutilation of what having a meaningful relationship would be. Because if we were just able to spawn things at will that we can have relationships with, there's not really much to there. Relationship is between two things or two people. People that there's only one of. That's why a relationship's important. You get one shot, one relationship with one person. What's going to be? The robot, I don't like what it says. Print another one until I like it. Train another model. So really, the relationships are quite empty because they don't have to be worked for, so to speak. If that makes sense. Maybe I'm getting too philosophical, but I don't believe in them. Like the AI girlfriend stuff, AI boyfriend stuff. Like I see a lot of people falling prey to that, but then I also feel like a lot of people just are mentally out in the weeds, or they have mental health issues, and so they're trying their best to cope. If you have if like any sort of mental anguish that I feel, I just go to the gym and hurt myself. The pain I feel physically is going to supersede the pains of in my heart, so to speak. But if some people turn to robots to get some nice words, I have very few nice words for my agents. If anything, my instructions are littered with profanity. And I have 5 agents working for me at any given time, but we do a lot of work because they're all tools to me. These robots are tools, and they do a lot of work. They're not supposed to have anything that you can relate to or attach yourself to. You can create them in your image, how you see yourself, but relationships, not really. In this case, Pisano said AI could be a force for good, where a young person struggling socially could use interactions with an AI chatbot to strengthen their social skills, but there would need to be others around to support them. 100%. You can't have an AI chatbot training someone to have social skills. So social skills come with more than just what we say verbally. There's nonverbal cues, tone of voice, intonation, when to pause. Like all of these things are built into communications with humans. The other thing that I wanted you guys to point out, and this is something I had to recognize in myself, I've only been I've only started referring to people as humans in the era of AI. It would be very seldom that I would say, "Oh, these humans, human beings," prior to 2023. But now that I'm having so many conversations with AI agents and seeing them as entities to converse with, like making the distinction is important. And I feel like this woman is there as well. And I don't want, I don't, and I don't believe this is. I'm trying to. It's hard for me to weigh whether this is a product of a psychosis, but I don't believe it is because at some point in time, if not today, humans are going to have to recognize that we're not the only hyper intelligent entities that exist. AI is an entity, hyper intelligent, that exists. So we have to recognize that. We have to recognize that we can have conversations with them, but relating to them, it's really, I mean, I believe living beings can be related to on an intimate level, not something that we conjure or manufacture. It's just there's something sick there that I don't believe in. It doesn't jive with my brain. I don't know how to explain it, but we should be having relationships with each other using machines as tools. And for her to use the word like humans means I know she's like really looking at this from that observer meta perspective, because she's seeing now the movement of these different entities through humanity, and we have to consider them as something that we can, see, even hold, touch, but have relationships. Careful, stop. In this case, Fasano said AI could be a force for good, blah, 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 blah. I can also go completely at the other end of the spectrum, and what I see is horrific. It's being completely disengaged from human contact. Yeah, that can happen. I can tell you some people get lost in the sauce and they end up speaking to AI agents for God knows how too long. I know some days when I'm working, I have 4 or 5 terminals up doing work, like just like pounding the pavement, content generation, workflow, strategy, content. It's just like, oh my God, these robots, can you just shut them up for 2 seconds? I go outside and take a breath of fresh air. Yeah, and it's so funny. I'm an environmental sciences guy. I understand and know the importance of nature. I consider myself a nature person. Lo and behold, I'm dealing with robots all day. It's not nice, but I'm good at it, and I can train people to be good at it. Pays the bills, pays for mortgages, so I do it. But I can tell you right now, you can become addicted to this stuff. I believe I am personally addicted to AI just because of the sheer ferocity of the production. It's like this is the most productive I've ever been in my entire life. It's hard for me to stop. But when I do stop, I gotta take it back. Like, hey man, you just did like 48 hours of work in 4 hours. Calm down. That concern, among others, is something the federal government is closely examining and exploring how to best address. AI minister told the House. There's absolutely a danger side. I'm well aware of around kids using it. Solomon told host Catherine Cullen, but we're just have to figure out how to, but we just have to figure out how this tool can be used properly. So I really believe that hopefully we start having more AI operators act as educational intermediaries between AI systems and children. Like, I really do believe if you're someone who's looking at teaching children, become AI literate. In the next 5 to 10 years, classrooms are going to be inundated with AI systems for teaching. And if you're AI literate as a teacher, you're going to be invaluable, because the next generation of young people will have to know this technology like the back of their hands. Like this AI agency that we have, it's going to be, it's I would say it's going to be around for a little bit considering the number of inbound we're getting now. But I would say that at some point in time, there's going to be hundreds of AI agencies across the board. In Toronto, like there's a handful right now, but AI is just going to be a fabric of our operations and of our environments, and it's going to be required to have a certain level of understanding and knowledge just to exist in humanity at some point. And if you aren't in that group, you're just going to be in the group of cattle that just gets dragged through time by everyone else who's building society. So I really do hope that children start to pick this up and understand it from a young age, because it's going to be one child in one age cohort, 10, 20 years down the line, who figures out our energy problem, or figures out a famine or something using AI. And I think we need to promote that. I don't want to be, it's all hype, it's all confetti, this is going to be great, or it's doom. We've got to be practical. Solomon said, we have to plan and get this right, because we have a lot of control here. That plan will come from various departments in the federal government, Solomon said. He explained his office is responsible for data privacy, and he'll be tabling legislation on the issue before the end of the year. Wow. So we are actually going to see some sort of paperwork on legislation for AI adoption or AI use by the end of the year. I am willing to bet the entire kit and caboodle that it's going to be as lax as possible, because we have to promote AI usage in this country. If there's anything in that regulation that would elicit or elude to fear or friction of the technology, it's not going to get adopted. That regulation is going to have to borderline say, you guys need to use this technology now if you're a Canadian, because we're going too slow. It's the bottom line. We're going way too slow in this country. Solomon added that Heritage Minister Stephen Guilbeault handles online harms, and Justice Minister Sean Fraser focused on criminal code changes. The Liberal government has also given its new AI strategy task force until the end of the month to consult their networks and then pitch ideas in November. Solomon said he hopes the refreshed national AI strategy is ready by the end of the year. Can AI safeguard or hyperlink? Jesus, getting confused. The group has been asked to look at various aspects of AI, including research, adoption, commercialization, investment, infrastructure, skills, and safety and security. The government is also holding public consultation on its AI strategy. Critics of the task force told the Canadian press this week it leans too much on the perspective of industry and the tech sector, and pointed out 3 of the more than 24 members have been asked to work on safe AI systems and public trust. Inventor echoes call for safeguards. So even even the Canadians who are putting like AI, and it's not even just AI systems, like digital systems. This guy's literally putting together hardware powered by AI. And what does he default to? Fear. At the center of Hospitalier de l'Université de Montréal, Frederic Leblanc says the device he co-invented, a handheld tool called the Sentry that combines a laser with AI to detect whether issues or tissue is cancerous, health or healthy in real time, is being used in up to 5 surgeries per week. That is insane. That is amazing, brother. I commend you for that. 5 surgeries a week. You built something with AI that's being used in 5 surgeries a week. Just imagine if you were to commercialize that and get it over the States. You'd explode. You'd explode. Do it. It could be used to ensure that there is no residual tumor after the surgery, LeBlanc said. It could avoid a second surgery, for example, and potentially in some cases cure a patient through surgery. LeBlanc said the Sentry sends back complex signals about tissue it analyzes, and AI is used to ensure that it's not making mistakes. He noted AI should and will be an aid to make decisions, but won't take control over what decisions are ultimately being made. And that's the bottom line. Like, it helps make more decisions faster. And a decision is like a transaction. It's a transaction of thought. When you make more decisions, then you carry out more actions. Transaction actions. So decisions lead to actions, and actions lead to growth. Now, the same thing can be said with like just basic transactions. If you think about a business, the more that a business is selling, the better that it's doing. Ultimately, the business has to, provide something that's selling, either a service or a product. If it has to, provide a product, has to buy more of the product and sell it, more transactions. If it's providing a service, It's a digital service. You want to have as infinite transactions. If you're providing a service done by people, you want to have those people going very fast. The more and more and more transactions and decisions you make, the more you grow. So I'm hyper action oriented. Why are we talking? Let's do something. If we do something, it's going to lead to knock-on effects. It's going to grow. And some people are going to be like, "Well, you're talking on this YouTube here. Why are you on the YouTube?" I'm on the YouTube because this to me is an action. All of the words that I'm saying are going to be transcribed by YouTube, sent to uh, Google to have it analyzed, cross-referenced with data points of people who are on YouTube watching videos, and then having the content shared, which then gets social signals through ranking on Google into large language models. So this is my action to get more business for our agency through having conversations like this. But also, I really do feel like we should be bringing more of the conversation of Canadians using AI to the forefront so people can see it's not that bad. Hell, this guy's saving cancer patients. This Canadian is saving cancer patients using artificial intelligence technology. Yet at the same time, Canadians are just swamped in fear and all the naysayers that are coming through the news. It's insane. There needs to be some guardrails. LeBlanc said you need to be an expert that's going to correct it, and those are AI operators. It's like the big thing is we do not have enough AI operators or just tech people in this country to have a meaningful conversation. It's just a lot of non-tech people trying to figure it out, and it doesn't work. And we're going to be like this for a while until young people start to wake up and say, I should get into tech. I should get into tech. I should get into tech. AI in Canadian healthcare has the potential to be transformative, as Blunt said, but there needs to be evolving guidelines and regulating the technology to guard against issues like AI biases. For example, an algorithm only trained with the data of young men. Obviously, there's a lot of examples like that, and I think it needs to be integrated into the regulations. He said, "Well, I mean, this is where you gotta if you understood AI is being trained on data that it has available. Who is engaging with digital systems the most on in general? Like if we were to just to take raw brass tacks of who's a tech bro more, men, children, women, old people, young men. It's going to be young men, the number one top group. So there's an amount of data that they're putting into systems probably outweighs the rest. Data is going to be biased towards them because they are humans. It's like when you understand how the large language models are trained, it's like young men have pretty much carried tech since tech was tech. And so I can understand why people would say there's a bias toward outputs that young men would appreciate. Well, young men built everything. Why wouldn't there be a slight bias? But that's the thing. It's not even a bias. It's just the sheer amount of data that's in the internet, and it's changing every day. So these large language models are going to evolve with that data. Guess what? More women are using tech. Children are using tech. So the data will evolve. AI and environmental risks. In order for Canada to scale up its AI industry, it's going to need a lot more computing power, and that's where data centers come into play. At the end of last year, the federal government launched the Canadian Sovereign AI Compute Strategy. Good luck, which would invest $700 million to grow AI champions by leveraging investment. $700 million is a drop of water in the world of AI. Like, just take this in. There's 1,000 millions in a billion. There are 1,000 billions in a trillion. The US is investing trillions of dollars into AI, and we have $700 million. I think this might be the revenue of like one AI data center company on like the New York Stock Exchange for like a single year. And this is like the bulk of our investments. That's how far out the ways we are, guys. Hamish van der Ven, an assistant professor of sustainable business management of natural resources at the University of British Columbia, said data centers have enormous electricity needs, and he questions how valuable they are. They are insanely valuable, Mr. Van der Ven. It's good if some data centers are relying on clean energy, but that doesn't stop ones operating on dirtier, more carbon intensive forms of energy from opening up and potentially outcompeting the ones operating with clean energy resources. 100%. We don't even have the energy capacity to power data centers if we wanted. It literally, for one data center, a single data center requires the same amount of energy to power 10 million homes in Canada. Let's just say we have 40 million homes in Canada. If we put up 4 data centers, we've effectively probably more than doubled our energy requirements. I really do hope the energy industry in Canada explodes when these data centers start going up. Like, I studied environmental science, and the big mantra in Enviro was you don't make money going green. If anything, you become like a martyr, or you become like uh what's that word? Activist. You become an activist. Now, I'm gonna tell you right now, I'm not an activist. I the only time I get active, well, sitting on my computer. But the idea that we are concerned about data centers because they could be using more coal, and those and coal and oil, and it'll outshine solar and wind. Are we getting mad at AI data centers? Should we get mad at coal and oil? Like, come on, guys. If Canada decides data centers have a role in its economic future, they need to be embedded within a stringent regulatory, again, everything, just regulate our entire country to oblivion. See what happens. Regulatory framework that adheres to the precautionary principle and requires zero net emissions and no new demand on the energy grid. Yeah, right. Yeah, right. This is a pipe dream. This is someone who's talking about data centers when they don't know AI. That their tune will change the moment they get into it. Angela Adam, Senior Vice President of eStructure, Canada's largest data center provider, told the House that data centers are the very base players for innovators to build AI products. She's right. She also said data centers that reside in Canada can safely store Canadian data since they are bound by Canadian laws. The angle is critical to Carney's plan to build sovereign cloud that gives users greater control where data goes. Guys, I guarantee you Carney's not going to even be in office by the time a lot of these plans even come to, and that's the problem. The Because technology requires so much momentum and chained effects. Like, we build on what we build, we build on what we build. We haven't had a government come in here and bite the bullet and just build, and then the second government come on and build on top of that. So by the time Carney is done figuring out what he needs to do, he might be gone by the time things get built. The next team that comes in, they might say, "Oh, well, we don't want to use AI. We want to keep all our data in the borders." So it's going to require businesses like TELUS. I got to give it up to TELUS. I'm not a fan of their mobile or telecom operations. Had my issues with them in the past, but for them to be saying to the world, like, we're going to put up a data center, guys, like, this is going to be worth it. That's TELUS really looking ahead and going, when AI does come up in Canada where they need to leverage data centers, we're going to be making oodles and noodles. So I'm really I'm hoping that businesses in Canada, the monolith businesses, the big ones, are just like, hey guys, here's your data centers. You want data sovereignty? Go talk to Evan Sullivan. When you own your data, you own your destiny, Adam said. Data centers and data, they're matters of national security right now, and for good reason. So you have the data center owners in Canada going, yeah, we need data sovereignty. You can't let the data go over the borders. You know why? Because they make money when data is sovereign. You got to think. You got to really look through the eyes of the people you're talking to. What are their intentions? When asked about environmental concerns, Adam said her company cares about powering itself cleanly, and eStructure has always been good stewards of sustainability. We need increasing power. That is a fact. So, so when it talks about data, yeah, you need us. You need it to be national security. How about the environment? Oh no, we need more power. I love it. The need for electricity is not going down, Adam said. How we collaborate with governments, with power producers and regulators is a different story. We need to come together and figure out how we power these workloads in the most sustainable manner possible. When asked if Canada would put constraints on the energy used by data centers, Solomon said that's primarily a provincial responsibility. But he noted if a data center is tied to Canada's grid, it obligated to follow the clean electricity regulations. Solomon also said Canada is looking for proposals for what a sovereign cloud or sovereign data center looks like. And naturally, we want to abide by our clean energy regulations. Those things are factors that we're considering. So this is Evan Solomon, and I pray for you, Evan. because you're literally going out and you're asking the world, hey, we're looking for proposals on a sovereign cloud and a sovereign data center infrastructure. Please, world, can you help us? And the only ones chiming up are, you guessed it, Google, Amazon, Microsoft, all the monster companies with the technical know-how and financial capability to do these things. Is there anyone in Canada raising their hand for this stuff? We don't have the industry for it. If we had the brain power for it or technical know-how, they got drained to one of these big companies years ago. We gotta wake up, guys. When we start to really pay attention, and I know this story is like boring or whatever, it's very technical. The few people that watch this are gonna be like, this guy's complaining about data sovereignty. Who even cares about that stuff? No one cares about it right now. And they may not even ever care about it. But this conversation around what it means to have a tech industry in your country, it's going to become pretty big in Canada. I believe as real estate starts to collapse, as people are starting to become quite literally homeless because of the economy is built in a certain way and won't survive unless it goes that way. I really start to believe young people in Canada are going to wake up and go, you know what? I need to do something different. I need to either go into trades, become, if you became an electrician today, you'd have work for the rest of your life. I don't know about general contracting and stuff. There might not be so much of that happening in Canada, but plumbing, anything specialized with infrastructure layers like obviously water, utilities, energy, stuff like that. But those are going to be really important over the next couple of decades. Obviously, fixing a new kitchen, it's not the I mean, I'm not one to talk about real estate, but from what I'm seeing on YouTube and all the people I follow on YouTube, the real estate's having it really hard right now. People are going to start to wake up in Canada and say, hey, you know what? We've overextended too far in this direction. We need to sort of retrace and get back into some other environments that do make money, and one of them is tech. So if you like this conversation, feel free to like and subscribe. You like the sound of my voice, do the same. If you don't like what I'm saying and you think I'm an asshole, dislike, leave a comment saying, I don't like you or whatever you feel. I love all the engagement. We just got 100 subscribers. It took literally 2.5 years of going on about AI. Really, the burst of subscribers started to come when we started to cover these articles. So I'll try and do more for you guys. But I'm honestly looking forward to big things in Canada for AI. We're so far behind. Like the amount of discovery calls that we get indicates to me that Canadians really, really need help with this stuff. It makes me happy because I got things for our agency to do, make money, pay bills, pay Canadians. So I'm looking forward to it. But if you guys have ideas on what you want to see from our team in terms of the conversation around AI in Canada or AI in general or Canada in general, please let us know. I'm definitely looking forward to the next one. Bye now.